An NBA insider reveals the Celtics' plans as he says that the Celtics could be exploring trades with Jaden Springer once again, as Springer has not been able to cement himself in the rotation for the Celtics, and with the Celtics being a long-term X factor for this team, player in Springer looking for a contract next season who hasn't cracked Joe Mazzulla's rotation could be on the out. So if he is, who is a possible replacement for the Celtics to go and get to help their championship push? We'll be diving and looking at all of that and if moving Springer is the right move in this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support for the channel. It's really, really appreciated. If you do enjoy the content, make sure to continue hitting that like button to stay in that Celtics algorithm and hit that subscribe button to help us get to our goal of 6,000 subscribers before the new year. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. And like I said in the introduction, we're going to be looking at a player in Jaden Springer and discussing, is it time to possibly move off of and trade said player? And this all comes from looking at an article from an NBA insider, Michael Scotto, as he came out with an article today, courtesy of HoopSite, where he looks at the top trade candidates for every single team in the NBA. If you guys are big NBA fans, I would definitely check out this article. But if you want to know just about the Celtics specifics, we have it for you guys here. Scotto went in detail and talked about one player on the Celtics being available for trade, and that player was Jaden Springer. And he had to say this on Springer. Before the season began, Boston was obviously monitoring Springer with Lonnie Walker, and they decided to move off of Lonnie Walker, but Boston did consider a change towards the back end of its roster. Following a strong end to the preseason from Lonnie, the Celtics gauged the trade market on Jaden Springer, and league sources told Hoop Hype's team across the league hoped to pry some future draft pick compensation from the Celtics for taking on Springer's $4 million salary. That's what said the Celtics to not be interested in giving up future draft capital to move off of a young 22-year-old former first-round pick that they feel could still be a additive piece for some teams. The luxury tax penalties for signing Walker to that 15th roster spot were ultimately too steep for Boston to retain him heading into the season, which led to Walker going overseas. But with Springer out of the rotation and given Boston's luxury tax situation, he's unlikely to receive a qualifying offer this summer as well. And if the Celtics want to make sure they can get some value for a player in Jaden Springer, it could be the time to move off of him now or before the deadline to ensure that they get something back. Like we said, Springer is a restricted free agent. So for the Celtics here, they could ultimately bring him back and they could re-sign him. But if they feel like they are already in that luxury tax hole already with all these expansive players in Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porziņģis, Derrick White, Jayson Tatum, and Jaylen Brown getting extensions with also key bench players and Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard getting those over the last couple of seasons as well. The Celtics are tied up into 7 players, and all depending on what Al Horford wants to do as well coming back. If he wants to return next season, he could be an impact player for this Celtics team and could be taking up some money. And then obviously looking at some other pieces that are already locked up long term, the Celtics could have some possible issues giving money to Springer. So let's look at those implications. And for Springer, he hasn't really played the greatest for the Celtics this season. I'm personally a person who wants to believe in Jaden Springer, still feel high on his impact that he can bring in the NBA. But for the Celtics, he just hasn't been able to find that role. Like we said, averaging 1 point per game and 1 rebound on 20% shooting from the field, Springer has gained a very, very low minute share here for the Celtics so far this season. If we want to look at his stats or his playing time so far for the season, we can see he's caught in 3 contests, and them being more recent, in which the Clippers was the one where he played at least a full minute in those contests. In the Clippers game, he did have 3 points, did get a nice steal, playing some very, very solid on-ball defense in that perimeter first and that half court side of things, and that's what we like to see with Springer. He's a great guy who's going to take that attack and really drive out to be that primary ball defender on some of those guys, and he really slows down ball handlers in that effect for them to be able to speed up the game and to be able to get down the basketball for full speed. Springer is able to really position himself and portray himself to be one of those better on ball defenders and could be one of those nice on ball defenders in the league. Unfortunately for him, though, he's just behind some players on the Celtics. Obviously, Jrue Holiday, Derrick White, and even Peyton Pritchard have taken over in Jaden Springer's role, where it's very, very hard for a player like him to get some playing time. And like we mentioned, he is on a contract here making around $4 million and is a restricted free agent. So if the Celtics already have these top players locked up long term, might be looking to bring back Al Horford, already have some other players locked up for the foreseeable future as well. Being able to secure a player like Jaden Springer might be tough for the future unless he wants to come back on a cheaper deal. And if he's not getting any player time and he's not getting any experience as well with not being able to play in the G League because he's not on a two-way contract, Springer might want to get out. So that could lead to a trade and could lead to the Celtics getting something valuable for Springer, specifically if he wants to leave next season. They can at least get something and instead of losing nothing. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section about that. But we're going to look at some possible trades for Springer as well in this video. As I know, some people have already been on the getting rid of Jaden Springer train. Personally, I really like what he can bring to this team. I know Sam LaFrance from How About Them Celtics, and a writer for Celtics blog, is a big Jaden Springer guy over there, and that's one of his favorite players. And to me, he kind of resembles a little bit of a Marcus Smart-esque type of guy, a very, very solid on-ball defender, is going to dive for loose balls, going to make those right plays, and be very, very hard-working on that defensive side. And he's had some comparisons to Smart, obviously, in his draft coming up. That's who he was categorized to play, similarly like, and Sam Cassell also really likes his play style from when the Sixers. So I think Springer can bring that value for a team, and I was hoping it would be this Celtics team kind of finding a role. But similarly, if he isn't able to find a role and is to be traded because the Celtics know they're not going to be able to re-sign him, the Celtics could go and get some players that could be some key impact players right now. But the Celtics do have some complications when looking and doing trades. As we all know, they are a second apron team, which makes it a little difficult for the Celtics to go out and get players. If they're going to trade a player in Jaden Springer, like we mentioned, he makes $4,018,000, $18,363, which would mean the Celtics would have to trade for a player that makes either exact that amount or less to fit in for a trade. And even though the Celtics do have two roster spots open, the Celtics cannot trade Jaden Springer away, and we cannot trade two players to get one. They cannot trade Jaden Springer and another contract and add it together to get said player. They could trade Jaden Springer for two guys, but finding two contracts to fit into a $4 million deal when the veteran minimum is $3 million is going to be very difficult. But if we want to look at some possible players to go out and get for the Celtics here, under this list, Dwight Powell is one who fits right underneath that threshold at $4 million. Day'Ron Sharpe is another big man who is around there, and Santi Aldama is another one as well. Amir Coffey, a young wing, and lastly, Torrey Craig off the Bulls. I believe that these five players would be suitably the best five that the Celtics could go out and get. As we all know, the Celtics have had some big man issues, some big man struggles without Kristaps Porziņģis and Al Horford. And even though both of those players have inserted themselves back and have been key, helpful pieces for this team, we do know that with Porziņģis rehabbing his injury and Horford sitting out in back-to-backs, the Celtics do need some required big man help. So maybe getting out another player in Dwight Powell, Day'Ron Sharpe, or Santi Aldama to help out that front court could be key. Santi's been a very solid shooter for the Grizzlies. Day'Ron and Dwight Powell could be some solid rebounders for the Celtics, but if the Celtics want to get some additional help out that wing position as well, say if Sam Hauser's having an off shooting night or Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown isn't looking the best offensively, they could go out and get said players in either Amir Coffey or Torrey Craig, who could be solid 3-and-D wings for this Celtics team that could be plug-and-play players off the bench. Ultimately, I feel like Amir Coffey and Torrey Craig are very similar to a player in Jordan Walsh and what he could bring for this Celtics team. And it's ultimately if Jordan Walsh can take that next step and if the Celtics feel confident that Jordan Walsh can step up in those playoff minutes, similar to what O'Shea Brissett did for the Celtics last year. The Celtics feel confident that a player like Jordan Walsh can take that next step, take that leap, and be able to make that same impact that Brissett made last season at the end of the playoffs, even in those some sporadic minutes, having a plus 17, so maybe not to that grand of effect, but making some big impact plays on either on defense or making some smart plays on the offensive side, hitting some threes. I think Walsh could be a better impact player than Craig or Amir Coffey, and no need to trade for those guys. But if you feel that Walsh is just 1-2 year behind to make that impact, and you'd rather go out and get a player who can help out in that wing position or in that front court position, I think trading away a player in Jaden Springer to go out and get those guys could be helpful. But ultimately, it's up to the Boston Celtics. Do they feel confident that a player in Jaden Springer could come back next season and could still feel comfortable being on this team if Jrue Holiday were to take a less role, or if Derrick White were to take a little bit of a less role, as they are getting a little bit older in that point guard position for Springer to take a little bit of an advance? Or is it time to move off Jaden Springer, rip off that band-aid, and go out and get another piece that can additionally help out this team just for this season, freeing up some roster spot and freeing up some cap space going into next season for the Celtics to bring in some more grizzled veterans? Let me know what you guys ultimately think down below in the comment section. You guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love for Godfrey and I. And like I said over on the channel here, we're trying to get to our goal of 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. 69% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed, so shout out to the 30% that are subscribed. But if you're at this point of the video, you're still watching, you still enjoy the Celtics news, and you are not subscribed, it would mean the world if you hit that subscribe button for us over here. It helps out a ton. But you guys have been absolutely fantastic. The Celtics are taking on the Miami Heat tonight in a doubleheader. It is going to be a injury type game. The Celtics, no KP, no Al Horford. For the Heat, no Jimmy Butler, so it will be a little bit of a daunting game, but we will have a post-game video up for you guys at the end, and we do have a stream coming tomorrow. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We will be having Nick NBA back on it again on Celtics Digest tomorrow to discuss everything Celtics that we've seen in the first 20 to 25 games or so. So if you guys enjoyed the content, if you guys do enjoy everything over here, like I said, hitting that subscribe button would mean the absolute world. And you guys have been absolutely fantastic. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. And go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.